السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري ويشرك في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وارنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين آمين آمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We have been studying the story of Yusuf in the Quran, and we studied up to verse 74, yeah. And from the section of the Quran called Yusuf itself. The name of the section is Yusuf, and the subject is also Yusuf and his family relationship, if you like, in a summary. So we studied up to this verse, and this verse says that maybe get my ready. All right. Yeah. The Egyptians said, "What will be the penalty for this stealing if you are proved to be liars?" Because they said we didn't steal it. All right. So we remember that is they brought his brother second time when they came to Yusuf, where the people say in Egypt, doesn't matter wherever it is. So it is that time in the administration ruled by a king, wherever it is, doesn't really matter. So Yusuf is the first man, if you like, maybe exchanger of the financial affair of this country, appointed by the king himself and given a settled certain position, so that he is under the protection of king now. We said it is very important to see that how the people are really still struggling with this immigrant or nationalistic ideas. That time, the Quran says, that time maybe 1,000 years ago, maybe more than thousands years ago, doesn't matter, long ago, and you see an immigrant, a slave is the top man in the world because of his honesty, because of his wisdom, because of his knowledge. The virtue of the man, value of the man is appreciated really without looking at his national or racial origin. That is interesting. We are still struggling to reach this level of civilization or humanism, if you like, nothing to do with religion, but humanistic attitude, appreciating the human values. God willing, we will reach that point maybe next century. uh, inshallah, let's say, still some little hope, but not much, it seems to be. People are becoming more and more radical in nationalism. We have to watch out for it as well for ourselves. So this is very interesting. The subject is very critical, very subtle, and also caused doubts, questioning among the people, including the Muslims themselves. They struggle to understand this because there was a trick there going on. Yep. So God says, it is my plan. In the following verse, let's say we devised a plan for Joseph. It is not the wisdom of Joseph. God tells us that this is God's plan. We know that in another verse, the unbelievers or other people may make some plans, but the best planner, what does it mean? The planner who aims the good, the khayrul makirin. The original word is khayrul makirin. It means the best of the planners. It has two meanings. It is the one who makes the plan in the best way, or who makes the plan for the good purpose. Khayrul makirin. He is the best one who does the plan for the best purpose, for the good purpose. So we can interpret it in both ways. I mean, traditionally it is translated as the best planner, but I would like to see it or understand it as the planner, but for a good purpose. But it must be, if it is God, must be the best one who does this, because he is perfect with no defect or shortcomings. So it is obvious, if it is God's act, it must be the best. But the word khayrul makirin gives that the best of the planners it means for the best purpose. Now, let's see how it is devised now by God, this plan. But this we are going to study now in this slide only the background of it. What is going on now? Yusuf was advised, we understand from the following verse, by God to do this way, to follow this way, because at the end of the day, he is a prophet. So as a prophet, acts under the guidance of God. Receives the revelation is something, the message, but the practical side of the message is under the observance of God. So he did it under the observance of God. It means through inspirations, not revelation, but inspirations. So we have to see the difference between, for example, if you compare it to understand the case clearly with the vocabulary that we are familiar with, the Quran is revelation. The prophetic practice of the Quran is under the inspirations of God, guidance of God. So he will be practicing the teachings of the Quran in his life, so that he is expected not to make any mistake in his practice of the teachings of the Quran. Not that he is the best architect, he is the best doctor, he is the best, I don't know, farmer, animal breeder. No, I mean, this is what we learn from the order of the universe. We don't need special verbal explanation by God how to use the universe in its in the way that it works, that is different. We can investigate it. We can do experiments and use our previous experiences and learn how it works. So that is how our responsibility is as far as learning how the universe how the universe works. But what is the prophetic teaching side of it, or we need the prophetic teaching in our relationship with the order of the universe, is very simple. It teaches us the purpose of existence and see in the creation how the qualities, absolute qualities of the creator are manifested in the creation. That's why we have to be careful to make the distinction between to learn how to do farming. For example, there is a disputed hadith in this subject, or to do some healing, methods of healing is different from while doing the methods of healing, what we are expected to be aware of it. So the prophets are not laborants or doctors or, I don't know, nurses. But they teach. For example, by practicing a certain way, what he is teaching us there, not necessarily to do this in the 21st century, but apply the most developed ways of healing, methods of healing, investigate it and find it. In his time, this practice was the most developed way of curing certain diseases. He advised it, and of course he said, definitely, while he is practicing it, he said, La shifa'e illa mink. Yes, we are doing this. That's what you have provided us as the means of healing. But shifa, the healing, is not coming from the tools or nowadays medicines or other applications, comes from the matter itself, but the one who gives the ability to cure to heal your diseases is from Allah, not from the matter itself. That is the prophetic teaching side of it. Two things, for example, in this kind of matters. One is, never forget that the real effect is from the creator of the matter that you are utilizing now. It is provided for you by him. The second is, you have to apply the means available for you to cure your illnesses, diseases. That's what we all have. When we have any problem, we go run to the doctors and ask the professionals in this subject. And it is sunnah to go to the doctor, to go to hospital. So we understand that Prophet is encouraging to use the most improved, developed ways of curing, but never forget that it is from, the healing is from the creator of that medicine, that the ability of the doctor, or I don't know, all the means that we are doing, for example, tests or scans, this kind of things, all are provided within the order of the universe by the creator of the order of the universe. We have to keep this balance. No, I would say extremism, saying that no, Allah creates, Allah is the source of healing, so I trust in Allah. That is not sunnah. Prophet didn't advise this, but while applying, you trust Allah. Not without applying, no, it means you are lazy. You are not obeying Allah's order. Allah says, go and apply the medicine I prepared for you. Employed people to find out this medicine for you to apply to cure your illnesses. Now, that is the prophetic sunnah. But at the same time, nowadays, the doctors don't say Allah will give you the shifa, unfortunately, but you know that the Quran or Revelation or God teaches us that, look, while you are using the means I provided for you, you have to acknowledge that it is provided by me, not by the medicine itself. Exactly the same thing. For example, when the Prophet was just moved to Medina very recently, he didn't know, because in Mecca there was no farming. There is no a really fertile ground or earth in Mecca. He himself was a shepherd. It's an animal breeder or animal caring the animals and benefiting from their whatever Allah creates through them. But when he came to Medina, he didn't know what farming is at all. So he advised the farmers to do or not to do something. But from his prophetic perspective, they were cutting the trees, the branches of the trees. Then the Prophet advised them not to cut them. Why? Because the prophetic vision looks at that this plants is making tasbihat, the glorifying God, the creator. Why do you kill them? By cutting their life connection with the trunk of the tree or the roots of the tree. So he was looking at it from the prophetic perspective, saying that, no, they let them make tasbih. But the farmers, through their experiments, years of experiments, and learned from their ancestors that if they do the farming, therefore fertilizing system works better, or how do you say it, pollinations, in order to help the tree to pollinate better. So they give more fruit. That is Allah's sunnah. So they learned it by experience of the order of the universe that we have to understand. But the Prophet said, don't cut it, because from prophetic perspective, he said clearly, it is in the Muslim hadith, is so clear. When I put forward about my personal view about how the order of the universe is working, I am a man. I may not be able to really know how the order is working. My profession is the prophet. It means bringing the Allah's message to you while you are doing all these investigations of this, how the universe works. Never forget that the order is provided or created, arranged, organized by the creator of the universe. So acknowledge that in the order, the creator is introducing himself to you. While you are investigating the things, how the things are being created, given existence, the prophetic mission says you have to pay attention that in the way that the things come into existence, that you can find, you can see that these things are glorifying God. It means introducing their creator with his absolute qualities manifested in their existence. The way they come into existence demonstrates the qualities of its makers. So this is the prophetic mission. We have to be very careful this kind of matters. The same attention is needed to understand this matter that the Yusuf was this is a social context. It's something to do with legislation, something to do with Islamic fiqh here. So we have to understand. Let's study two of them together, two verses in the slide, which is shared on the screen. The Egyptians said, what will be the penalty for stealing, for this stealing, if you are provided, if you are proved to be liars? So the brothers replied, look at, they are for stealing if you are proved to be liars in their country, in their practice. So the Egyptians said, because we have to be very careful, some people understand that Yusuf is speaking here. No, the verb is plural, qalu, not qale. So the other people who are employed there in the palace, if you like, in the center of the administration, they are asking, speaking to Yusuf's brothers now. Of course, they don't know that it is Yusuf It is no, they don't know that Yusuf's plan is arranged by God. They are not aware of it. Only Yusuf knows it for the moment. So they asked, what is the penalty in your country? Now, that's very important. For example, if you are living in the United States, you can say that, oh, it is legal to park anywhere on the street is legal, for example, in my country. Why do you give me punishment? No, we cannot say this here in this world. So it is limited, of course, not in every case. It must be the same. In Islamic administration, it is definitely acknowledged that Jews are treated according to Torah laws. Christians are treated according to, again, Torah laws, because they don't have legal system in Christianity, because the Jesus referred to Torah. So those people who are conscious of the legal system, most of the Christians are not, unfortunately. That is their problem, but we shouldn't be following their path. We have to be very careful. We have our own laws. So no one asks us about, in America, partially they do, but anyway, it is much better than the rest of the, even Muslim words, is the Muslim words. You cannot really apply Sharia law, but at least partially in some parts of America for the moment is possible. Anyway, this is a civilization. This is a humanistic behavior. It means very human, not very godly, but human. Anything human is something to do with godliness as well, because we are preserving our way of creation. I wouldn't call it nature, but it is our futra. And so it is better for human beings to preserve their futra. So I'm going very fast because it's very important, this subject. I want to finish this subject today if it is possible. If not, we can continue, but it is a very crucial subject. How God planned, why God planned, rather than he himself did it. Why? He could have. No. He's teaching us. All these things are not for Yusuf. It's for me, for you now. So Yusuf is what? My consciousness. But how can I really satisfy my conscience? Yusuf represents, we said from the previous studies for a long time, really. This is the 15th week. We are studying the story of Yusuf. So until now, you understood that Yusuf represents conscience, his father represents rationality, and his brothers represent disobedience of God's order, and also ego, and king represents honesty as a human honesty, etc., etc. So Yusuf is my conscience. Now, how am I going to do my actions according to my conscience, which doesn't contradict my conscience? It means my soul. In the language of the Quran, it means my ruh. So you are familiar with the word ruh. So the brother said the penalty will be the enslavement of the person in whose bag the cup is found, because they declared before that we didn't go into details because we are only studying the crucial points in the life of Yusuf as explained in the Quran. So only the crucial points which are directly related to our practical life. It was the cup or it wasn't the cup, doesn't matter for me, but there was a planning here. Planning, a spot, actually, how do you say, a planning, let's say. So in whose bag is the cup is found? This is how we punish wrongdoers. You understand? We punish wrongdoers. كذلك نجزي الظالمين. We. It means in our land. And Egyptian law, the king, if it is Egyptians, of course, the king's law allows the foreigners to be treated according to their law. That is very true. So that is their values. So I cannot really judge somebody against the values he bears for his social and personal life. So it is very human, if you like. So the king's law seems to be very honest. So Yusuf, as the top man, did he arbitrarily decide that his brother should be left behind from other brothers? His brother, one brother, although the name is not mentioned, his full brother, let's say, the others are half brothers. So father are the same, that the mothers are different, apparently. The half brother, full brother makes this sense. So Yusuf's father is the father of other 12 boys as well. We studied this previously, why 12, etc., representing what, etc., etc. These are past now. So they said, we punish. And king's law in the country acknowledges this, also treating other people according to their values, according to their beliefs, is legal in this land, in the land of the king. So the big problem is here. Did Yusuf obey the law of kuffar? That is the language, sensitive language I'm using deliberately. Some people keep saying that Muslims, how can you obey the law of kuffar, the deniers? So it is full of hatred language. Anyways, it is an extreme way of analyzing the case and based on or deriving from ignorance. So Yusuf as a prophet is, God is teaching me on the example of a prophet, saying that you have to apply the law of the place where you live. There is no anarchism allowed in Islam. But if the law is against Sharia, yeah, look, it was against Sharia. Look at this one. I am coming to the very critical position. It was against Sharia to follow kufr rule or deniers, not God's Sharia, the law. But Yusuf is not the legislator there. He is taking care of the financial matters, top man, but responsible for financial matters. And the king did not ask Yusuf or employ Yusuf to take care of the legal system of the country. He said, you take care of the economical, financial side of the problems of this country. That's what you are employed for. So he is using his authority only within the limits of the where he was authorized to act. We understand that. Was he authorized to act, to apply certain laws in a way that he prefers, maybe as a prophet, maybe under the guidance of God? Still, king doesn't acknowledge God, because we know that from the language Yusuf used in prison, while he was speaking to people, he said he's escaping from unbelieving people. It means this land is not ruled according to God's Sharia. So Yusuf was obeying the country's law, but at the same time, something needs to be done. Very critical, very controversial subject. God said, okay, I am going to teach you how to get around this law. Because it is not God's law, first of all, but at the same time, Yusuf and the human beings, and we are living in this country. For example, the legal system of this country is secular. And I'm sure you too, personally believe that Sharia must be the guideline of our personal and social life, and also community life. So I have to, I believe in Sharia. I don't believe in secular laws. But since I am here, I have to apply it. But if I know that there is something right and there is a way of applying my right, be careful, be careful, be careful. Somebody said, some people said, although in the books they are also written, unfortunately, how the a prophet can make a trick, tell a lie. You know, oh, this guy is the thief. Why? He has stolen the cup, but he hasn't. You put it there. Apparently, it is a lie. But at the same time, it is getting around the law. This is what I mean. God says, now be careful. Be careful and don't argue this subject, please, please, with those people who have a rigid mind, like looking at the world with their bridles like a horse. They don't see the flexibility of Sharia. They don't know. Did you know that the fiqh rules differ in 5 or 6, I think 4 or 5 conditions? For example, in a country, there is no country as far as Islam is concerned, but in a community where the people are ready to apply God's guidance, Sharia, which is called Sharia, and the administration is under or ruled or organized, administered by the people who believe Sharia. That is an example for Caliphate period during the Prophet ﷺ and after the Prophet for Caliphate, something like 29 years of period, Sharia was applied. People were ready to receive it and they believe in it and ready to receive it. And the administrators were willing and deliberately preferring to apply God's rule. Now that is called pure Sharia application. All right. How about if a non-Muslim lives in the Muslim land? It is not the right word, Muslim land. There is no Muslim land. Only administration is Islamically run. Non-Muslim. A Jew came and said, I'm going to make a synagogue here and teach Torah to my children. And also call they have their own azan. I don't know if you are familiar with the Elohim or something like they shout like Allahu Akbar as the Muslims do. They have their own way. Can they do it? Of course. Law changed. Sharia allows that non-Muslims can practice their religious tradition within the Islamically administered area and under the Islamically administrating system. So, or the caliph, it is called in Islamic terminology. So, this is another case. Laws change. Sharia changed in its application, but it doesn't mean the Sharia changed. No, Sharia is not rigid. Sharia includes different practices in different circumstances. That is Sharia, not against Sharia. So if a believer live in a country, well, most of the world is like this. Even somebody may say that, Egypt is a Muslim country, Turkey is a Muslim country. Come on, they are just applying atheist secular system. They are really copy-pasting the civil law, for example, penal law, for example. It is ridiculous, but people think that this is a Muslim land. That's ignorance, nothing else. So we have to be careful that a Muslim living in Turkey or in Egypt, for example, what are they going to do? They have to follow the law in social context, not in personal. Or here, for example, in Turkey, for example, I know I was born in Turkey, so I know what is practice, what is practiced there. So in Turkey, in the States now where I live, everybody is allowed to drink, to consume alcohol or intoxicant drink or beverage, brewers or whatever it's called. My English is perfect, so you know my language now by now. So anyways, I can say that, oh, it is legal here, so I can drink. It's personal. But when it comes to social context, for example, the practical, very practical and simple example the examples must be very simple to understand. For example, parking regulations, traffic rules, for example, stealing or telling a lie, whatever the laws are here. While I am obeying the parking regulations, am I disobeying Sharia because this is secular system, secular legal system? No, I'm obeying the Sharia because my Sharia orders me to obey in social context the rules of this country where you live. There is no anarchy. But if you don't want to obey, go. Then the Quran says, why don't you go out of this land? Why? Isn't Allah's earth wide enough to give you a room in another part of the world? What are you doing here then? If you are going to cause anarchism, there is no anarchy, never forget. But at the same time, I have to obey my Sharia in my personal life. I have to follow the law of the country. But something like it happened to, in the case of Yusuf and his brother, being together and bringing the family back to where the Prophet Yusuf is the administrator. God says, make a trick, man. I'm going to teach you, for example. Put a cup and say that you have stolen it. Is he telling a lie? No, he's just going around the law. Because instead of, that is very important, instead of causing anarchy, disobeying the law of the land where he lives, even at the top administrative level, doesn't matter, he is at the end of the day a person, a citizen not the citizen that it is understood nowadays. For example, illegal immigrant is not a citizen here, but Yusuf was an illegal immigrant as a slave, so he was a student there, citizen there. We talked about it. It's a really advanced level than nowadays how the people people understand human rights, democracy, blah blah blah. Lots of rhetoric, which none of them is really serious and sincere. So that's made up politics. We are aware of this political side of the matter. We don't really put our nose into this dirty area. We know that there's something satanic going on always there in politics. We keep ourselves from this dirty area. Inshallah, we do. I try to do, but inshallah, you too as well. So what are we going to do? Try to see where the law allows me to go around it. This is the flexibility of the law everywhere, because according to the Sharia, my life, personal and social life, living conditions must be different according to fiqh. There must be another form of fiqh rules applied for believers living in a non-believing and society where the legal system is not according to the will of the creator. We have to find a way for it, adjust ourselves accordingly in order to be on the safe side, in order to save ourselves from becoming, for example, deprived of our human legal rights. Legal means Sharia, Shari'i, according to Sharia rights. That's what we have to be flexible. We cannot say that in a non-Muslim country, I cannot apply Sharia, so I cannot be here. Of course, there are fiqh rules. The fiqh rules ask first, why are you here? Why are you living in a non-Muslim society and your family, your children will be under the influence of non-Islamic atmosphere? Of course, I can say now, God, there is no place I can go now because they don't allow me to get there. Where Islam is applied, there is no way. I'm sorry. God says, okay, I'll teach you how to get around everything through the example of Yusuf and his brothers. Did you get the point? We are not reading story. We always say that we don't read history. We don't know where they are, how old they were. None of our business. What their names were. None of our business. For example, the Quran mentions a lot about the family relationship with Yusuf and his brother and their father, but no mention of their mother, because it is not related to the topic that the Quran, Allah wants us to teach me. So ignore it. In the case of Moses and Pharaoh, you see that mother and baby Moses are mentioned in the Quran. Who is the father of Moses? None of your business. There is no lesson for you there. That's what the Quran doesn't mention. There is no need to speculate and inevitably follow Israeliyat, which is just a Jewish tradition, made up interpretations of the original revelation of God to the prophet Moses. So that is why it is corrupted. But what are we doing now when we look at most of our classical commentaries on the Quran? You see lots of corrupted information inherited, borrowed from Jewish tradition. So it is, we have to alarm it here, be very careful. The Quran is treated as the corrupted form of Torah had been treated. Now you understand the danger of bringing the Israeliyat, Jewish tradition interpretations of Revelation into the commentary on the Quran. We have to watch out. But they were great scholars, but mixed with Orientalists, Jewish tradition, Israeliyat. We cannot justify it because the Quran warns us by giving the example of these children of Israel. We are the children of Israel as following the revelation, because children of Israel, who are they? Certain people. No. That's an example. The purpose of the Quran is to teach us any group of people, any community, any society, I don't know, any people who has the guidance from God and corrupts it. Maghdub means this. So am I I'm asking myself, I don't know. You can dare to ask yourself, am I a Ahlul Kitab, the people of, one of the people of the book? Yes, I am. I have the revelation as far as I claim to have. But it is given the example, the example is given on Israel, children of Israel. Here, the example is given on Yusuf and his brothers and his administration and the king and the conditions of that country. Example applied to me. Yusuf is me. So there, children of Israel is me. So don't alienate the Quran saying, oh, those people are so ugly, disgusting people, but we are pure. It is just really arrogance. Quran is speaking to you. The Quran is not speaking to those Jewish people. If they want, they can listen. Otherwise, the first addressee of the Quran is you and me. So while I am reading the Quran, I have to see that God, I have to understand that God is speaking to me right now under the example, giving the example of Yusuf here that we are studying today, or under the example of certain people who are called children of Israel. Example, not for the sake of children of Israel. If it was just for the sake of children of Israel, I would definitely say that nothing to do with me. I am not a Jew. So it would be a reduction to the teachings of the Quran, reducing it to a history book, storybook. It is not the purpose of God's speech coming from the absolute infinite knowledge of God, speaking to human beings as a guide for all human beings at all times after it was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. It contradicts the definition of the Quran. Again, this definition is made by the Quran itself. If you say that I'm following the Quran, so you cannot say that children of Israel means them, not us. They call it others and me. Them, not me. You cannot read the Quran in this way. You cannot read it. You look at Yusuf, made a trick. I'm not going to make a trick. I am an honest man. What does it mean? Yusuf wasn't an honest, and ultimately God wasn't an honest God, because he made the trick, he says in the following verse. I made it. Do you understand the contradiction, how dangerous it is if we are not conscious of what we are doing? So Sharia laws has many different practices according to the circumstances of the people or the person. Now, those people who live in a non-administration system, so non-Islamic administration system, like Yusuf is the example of it. So Yusuf's story is directly related to my practical life, living in a country, or those people who live in Turkey. So living in a country where Sharia laws are not only practiced, prohibited, rejected by definition through their constitutional laws, the fundamental laws, secular, not Sharia. Be careful, no. So if the state doesn't allow you, give you the permission, you can even not practice Islam in that land. So we have to watch out how horrible the situation is nowadays. And the Muslims are saying, look at this demography of Muslims in Turkey. 99% of the population are Muslims. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, okay, that's right. The people say Muslims, but some people say the great number of people nowadays growing and growing very fast. I'm not a Muslim. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in the Quran. I don't believe in the prophet who was an old guy, lived in history, in a desert life. We are living in the 21st century, in a civilized, technologically developed, and age, and we have much more sources of information than Muhammad had. That's what they say. Whatever it is, administration has nothing to do with Islam, although there are some tricks to, how do you say, attract the people's attention to the state so that they will allow the state, because state employs the imams, of course, to control them. That is the trick. So can the imam speak when he stands up in during Jummah khutbah as he wants to say something? Never. They have to read out what the authority state, secular state, prepared for them to teach people, confuse people's mind with religion, nationalistic tendencies, state power, and humanism mixed up. So innocent people think that, oh, no, the Quran ayats are recited. They don't know what's going on there. So we have to be careful not to cheat ourselves that, oh, this is a non-Muslim country, but if I was in Egypt, if I was in Pakistan, if I was in Turkey, then I would be really administered according to Sharia. Forget about it. So watch out what to do. That's why Yusuf's example is extremely important for us now, because we all Muslim population, if they are conscious of it, are living the conditions of Yusuf. What the Yusuf was doing? What Yusuf was doing, he was helping the people under a non-Muslim authority, honestly, to help the population who are non-believers. That's what Yusuf and the Quran describes. Non-believers in God. And he was helping them. Oh, what am I going to do? Do I help the non-believers here? Yeah, that's what Quran teaches you. Help humanity. Help them. But through your help, what the Prophet Yusuf did, conveyed the message to the people after establishing their trust in him. Like the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. That's what we studied on many occasions, that the similarity between the life of the Prophet Yusuf in the Quran described and the real life of Muhammad in his time. Really. But it's very interesting. We said that the chapter, the section Yusuf was revealed just towards the end of boycott period in Mecca. The worst time of the prophetic message, that he was excluded from the society by their own authorities. He couldn't really spread the message freely anymore. And it was a kind of, in this causal word, a condition which is not allowing the prophet to administer, to spread the message to others. Worst area, age in his life, in worst time period in his life in Mecca. So section Yusuf was revealed and gave the hint, if you like, wink at the eye, saying that, look, you are going to be in the position of Yusuf soon. Don't worry, but you will be the fully authorized administrator of the country. Yusuf was serving non-Muslims, non-believers. You will be serving mostly believers. When the Prophet Muhammad was migrated into Medina, he was appointed by the local people, indigenous people of Medina, and he was appointed as the administrator. So what did he do? He served 60-something believer, maybe until he comes, it is the Aqaba number. Let's say that there was a companion there who was teaching Islam to the people in Medina, but let's say 150 people, believers. And in this suburban area of Medina, where there were, let's say, according to the proportion of the population of Medina, the historians say that around 4,000 to 5,000 population. That time is a big city. 5,000 is big city. Mecca was a village now compared to Medina. So big city, and the rest were pagan Arabs. What did the Prophet Muhammad did, alayhi salatu wassalam? How does it really present to us the best exemplary sunnah of the Prophet to do in a society where most of the majority of the population are non-believers? Treat them equally on a just base, on a justice base. Treat them equally. Give them responsibility, distribute the responsibility among them equally, expect the contribution to the society's peace and order equally. He did. Did he say, for example, this is my Muslim brother, I have to just use my authority and try as if I have not seen it? No. Treatment equally. That is what the prophetic example is for us. We have to treat everybody in a country where there is no Sharia applied equally, believers or non-believers. If someone has the right, we have to support him. Even the unbeliever transgresses the right of just the other way around. Is a believer transgresses the right of an unbeliever. And if I am the witness, if I am called to court, if I'm called to court as a witness, what shall I say? Exactly what I observed, witnessed, or favor my Muslim believing brother or sister? Never do that favor. Be on the right side. There are many examples in the life of the Prophet during the later period of his Medina administration. If someone transgressed the right of a non-believer, non-Muslim, and the history, everything is said that if there is something wrong in Mecca, it was Abu Jahl. If there was something good, it was Abu Bakr. That is how the history is really constructed. In Medina also, if something bad happened, it was a Jew. If something happened, it was primarily Muhajirun, the immigrants, and then secondarily Ansar, the original residents of Medina, who embraced Islam, of course. So everything good comes from Muslims and everything bad comes from Jews. That is the image that the Muslim population is conditioned. So when you say Jew, I hate it. But if you go to New York and the Jewish quarters, they are really practicing their Sharia much better than Muslims are practicing their Sharia. And they are doing it in the name of God. They believe in God. They believe that it is the requirement of God's will. They obey it. We don't see the same consistency and seriousness in our life. We have to be ashamed of seeing this. Everybody dies to live in the Jewish quarter here. The prices of the houses and the rent are so high there because it is the most peaceful area in New York. So that is what Ahli Kitab should be. Take the example of Jews, and shame on us. We don't have the same honor, security in our life. Oh man, time is almost up. Let me see. Now, did we get something here? Not causing anarchy is fundamental principles in everywhere, in Muslim country, no, not Muslim country, Islamically administered country and non-Islamically administered country. So this is what we have to be very careful. But if something that it is our human right, but we cannot get it, what are we going to do? Find a way without causing anarchy, making it adaptable to the order of that country, which is not Islamic, so that you can manage with your social life in a peaceful manner. That is what we learn from this narration of the Quran, this part of the life example of Jesus. That's what we learned. So let us finish the, no. What did I do? Okay, the following.
Brother Ali, so can you go back, please? So you're saying the verses, yeah. So the Egyptians and the brothers, that's basically God who's saying all these, right? That's what you said?
Yeah, it is in the next verse. Read the next verse.
Yeah.
Yep. So that is what we devised a plan for Joseph. Yeah, verse 26. So it is not my arbitrary interpretation, but it is what it is said there. Okay, tell me now.
Will it be explained what is mean by this is like how we punish the wrongdoers? I mean, that's a common theme in the Quran, giving examples like that. And like this is the attitude of the wrongdoers, and they will suffer.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, just saying how.
We means the brothers are giving the example in their land. That historians said Median. We mean in their land. Yep, in their land. It means it is not an Islamic ruling in Median, but at the same time, this is an example for you, a foreigner, if you like, to the country, following a different tradition, following a different religious tradition, and coming to another country where there is a different tradition of legal system. So the people who come there to the other country where there is a different legal system, this legal system allows or acknowledges the practice of the people in their own land to be treated with. Is it clear?
So yes. So the law is applicable to whatever the country you're in. That law is applicable.
Yeah, that is what Sharia also teaches us in this way. So if a Christian or Jew or a Hindu comes to live in an Islamic ruled land, Islam cannot treat this man according to Sharia, according to his values. Do you follow me? But it doesn't mean that he can steal, because in the in my country, stealing is legal. But we know that human side in none of the administration, how corrupted they can be, stealing is by definition wrong and illegal. But people make it legal by making this money market or this kind of problems, that making it legal, that is their problem. But what we have to understand that Sharia allows other people to be treated according to their understanding in a land where that legal system is not acknowledged as far as the country is concerned. But if a person comes from other side or another place where the rules are different, then Sharia says, okay, I'm going to accept your system. There are details, of course. There are many things detailed. We are just covering as a very general view of how the Islamic administration teaches us, especially in this subject that we are studying, how the Sharia says when you are living in a non-Islamic administration, you should obey these laws, but these laws, this legal system, don't cause any anarchy there. It means not recognizing the authority, but at the same time, be conscious that if you think that there is nothing wrong in it, but if I apply it straight away, it will go against the law, but I have to find a way without disturbing anybody, but be successful in my social life. This kind of, they call it going around the law. Yep. Going around the law, where the law allows you to do. So what Yusuf did here, under the guidance of God, did put a cup in there and say that he is a thief, but did he punish him? No, he rewarded him. It wasn't that. It was just to apply the justice according to Yusuf's understanding of Sharia. So if there is a way of going around the law without going against the law, the legal system of the country, and causing anarchy, saying that I don't accept I don't accept kuffar laws, I want Sharia, this is anarchism. It is not Sharia. Sharia says, look, you have to either obey or go out, or if the law allows you to do something so that you will be apparently following the law, but not for a bad purpose. The purpose of Yusuf was to save his brother from the mistreatments of the other brothers. It was a good purpose. How could he success in practicing the good purpose, realizing it? Well, it was easy. God said, okay, find a way to do it. This is not to be done arbitrarily. This must be done for a good purpose, which means khairul makirin. It means you plan for a good purpose, khair purpose, good purpose. You have to do it for a good purpose, not to be opportunist for yourself, for your personal benefit, and transgress the rights of others. Did this Yusuf, transgress the right of another person? For example, he was labeled as the thief, his brother, his full brother, transgressed the right of it, or gave him the opportunity to benefit from it. Which one? The story tells he really enjoyed to be saved from the mistreatments of other brothers. So if the purpose is according to you, according to your Sharia, is correct, which is to save his brother from the mistreatment of other brothers, is according to Sharia a legitimate purpose. In order to achieve this legitimate purpose, you can go around the law system of this society where you are living, which is not really according to your belief. The legal system is not according to your belief. This is to be practiced carefully. It's very important, carefully, not exploiting this rule in order to for you to achieve your ambitions, etc., in order to have a life which gives you more opportunity to practice Sharia in your life. So he practiced Sharia, his belief, God's law, by saving his brother. But the laws did not allow him to do that. So God taught him a way of going around the law. Yeah, that is interesting. Inshallah, I could explain this very controversial, disputed matter, but that is my conviction. This is the best way of understanding the story. Your comment is based on the next verse, I think. Yes, Muhammad Said writes in the chat box. Yes, correct. And it is, it's not on the screen at the moment. Yeah. How about now? Here it is. But we are going to study next week, inshallah. That's why I am stopping here. Verse 74 and 5. This 76 needs an extra extension of understanding. So it might be confusing. It was for me, but now it is clear. Yes. Farah says maybe specific example could have about which kind of laws need to be practiced in this country, but are not. No, there is no every law must be practiced, but you have to find out a round of the law in order to achieve better result, in order to prevent. For example, in Yusuf's example, in order to prevent his other brothers from transgressing, mistreating his brother, his full brother. So in order to have a good, to reach or success in a good result, if the laws of that country doesn't allow you, if there is a way God says you can make a plan for it without being disobedient of the law, but at the same time depriving the right of a person from the mistreatments. This is the example, Farah, that Yusuf example. So I cannot give an example in practical terms. For example, those people like yourself live in the United States because we think United States is a secular state, but Pakistan is a Sharia state. You cannot dream of it. It's impossible. So I know Egypt, I know Turkey, impossible to think in this way. Nothing to do with Sharia at all. Administration, I have nothing to do with Sharia. So I don't know whether it is clear or not, but we have to be sure that this practice is directly related to most of the people living here, except Hatice Beyza. I don't know iPhone, what is that? Isra is here, Maha is here, Muhammad Said is here, Sarah is here, Ziba, I think, I believe here. Only Hana lives not in America. All of them, all of us lives here. It is directly related to our practical life. But if Farah is expecting from me to give a practical example in terms of the United States, those people who live in the United States, no. It depends on your personal position. I cannot make a judgment about your personal position, personal understanding. I have no idea. We have to speak in general terms. That's why I cannot generalize it and say that, for example, in the United States, you can do this way or that way. For example, if you are sure that there's no police at all is enforcement of the law, you can just go or pass red light because it is your right. No. This doesn't bring any khair for you because waiting in the red light is going to help you maybe once in a lifetime. You don't know where it is. So follow the law unless something extremely urgent and put the signals and the horn, push the horn and make it an emergency case so that you are deliberately, knowingly, not for just personal benefit, but for a good result, higher result, I am going through the red light. Otherwise, you have no justification to break the law. When you break the law, don't forget, you are breaking the law of Sharia. Why? Sharia says, follow the law of the country where you are living. Unless in the brothers Yusuf's case, his intention is to save his full brother from the mistreatments of other brothers. To save somebody's right. It means Khairul Makirin is working here. Khair is working here. So not openly disobeying the law, I'm repeating maybe 10th time, but it is very important. That's why it needs to be emphasized so that our minds must be ready for it, to understand and grasp and put it into practice. In this condition, Yusuf is trying to apply justice to his brother, but the circumstances are such that the law of the country doesn't allow him to do or to be successful in this aim. So God teaches him, go around it, man. So you have to find a way. So you have to find a way if the law allows. Excuse me, I will give you an example because I know it is time, it's really 20 minutes late. Last example. If you want to learn how to go around the law, go and ask an accountant in the United States. They love it. They know it because they know that the laws are giving some sort of flexibility for those people who are desperately in need of it. And they are using that flexibility like this. Here is the God teaching us. Here is God teaching us. Use the flexibility. For example, pretend to be that he is a thief and stop him from being treated unjustly. I think we are really over time, and inshallah, this case is clear. It is satisfying for me. It depends on personal needs and purposes, especially. You are doing this, going around the law, for what? just to make a benefit for yourself. No. Khairul makirin, never forget that. For a good purpose, for a higher purpose. Depends on what your khair, what your good, depends on your personal life conditions. So inshallah, we will continue from 76, I think. Yeah, 76 next week. And this is an exciting subject. Alhamdulillah, if it is beneficial from Allah, if it is something wrong from my human weaknesses, human limitations, sorry. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. MashaAllah, this story of Yusuf is full of examples of the Prophet. At the same time, for the Prophet, it's a good news for the Prophet and also good news for us. There are many beautiful aspects that are explained here in this story, really very much related to every one of us, the life of every one of us here. Every detail is something to do with me or with you, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Inshallah, see you next Saturday, Monday, especially studying this Quran. On Monday, Saturday, studying the risale-i, Nursi's writings. Alhamdulillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay.